Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Let's talk about why lust is killing men's potential. So I talk a lot about porn addiction. I talk a lot about guys struggle with pornography, masturbation, and this problem, this addiction is like absolutely plaguing us. And it's funny because I think grown-ups and mainstream media and our parents and, public officials, politicians, teachers, like I think all of like the people that are higher up in society and the people who are supposed to be bringing certain subjects to light aren't even aware of how destructive pornography is. Tell me, like, when is the last time you turned on Fox or CNN or ABC or CNBC or any of these news stations and someone has brought up, like, because people bring up the opioid crisis, people bring up all sorts of other problems and addictions, and obesity is one too. But when do you ever hear of people bringing up pornography addiction, right? And I think the main reason is because you can't necessarily see it, right? Like, maybe I know you can track like Pornhub has a section on their website where you can see like how many users they have visiting their site every 6 months. And obviously OnlyFans, you can see how many people pay, how many subscriptions men pay to see different women, right? Like how much money they're paying on a monthly basis. But one thing I think is that is holding the mainstream and public officials and everyone else from bringing this into public light is the fact that you can't see you can't see the physical byproduct, the negative physical byproduct of a man's porn addiction, right? Like, think about it. Think about it. If you see an obese man or an obese woman, you can generally assume that, hey, it's because they're eating too much food, right? But if you see a man who's tired or a man who doesn't have energy or a man who's broke, right? The first thing that is coming to your mind isn't the fact that he may have a porn issue that is causing his depression, his poverty, and his low energy, right? Like, you would assume maybe it's, hey, he's sleep deprived, or maybe he is having a rough day, or maybe he is broke, or maybe he's just not financially literate. But we never attribute pornography use, excessive pornography use, to men's problems and men's inability to function and perform, right? So that's a really big thing to internalize and understand. And I think that lust lust is going to be ever present in your field of consciousness as a guy, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, there's ways to fight it, there's ways to overcome it, but it's still going to be there. You're still going to be drawn to a woman's hips, her breasts, her life-giving properties, right? So that's not going to go away. But I think what we can do as far as overcoming it is a couple of things. So your ability to control your lust and your ability to not watch porn and not masturbate, I think is one of the biggest things, is in your direct proportion to guard your eyesight, right? So you want to install technologies on your phone and on your computer that block those sites, right? Block OnlyFans, block all the porn sites. And that's step number one, because half the battle is just you actually not looking at it, right? Like, I can get an urge, right? Like, I can get a feeling of horniness or wanting to watch porn and release, but if I don't have access to it, I'm not gonna have any ability to act on that impulse, right? And one thing that's really fascinating, the more you go, the longer you go without porn, the less urges you have. I think a lot of people misconceive urges, right? Like, we generally probably assume that, like, okay, if I'm retaining more and I have more testosterone, the urges would be much higher because I have a higher sex drive, my testosterone's high. But it's actually not the case. It's actually in direct proportion, in my experience, to your eyesight, to your ability to not entertain your lustful thoughts, right? Because think about it, right? When you watch the websites, you're hearing the girl, you can see the girl, right? You can see the guy, right? So your sight and your senses are more impacted and more likely to repeat that behavior the next time you feel the need to watch the website. So that's very important to realize as something that's going to help you overcome it. Number two is like, Jesus. Sorry guys. Number two is time restricted eating. Time restricted eating is going to be paramount to your ability to control lust, because when you're disciplined about your food intake, it helps you be disciplined with your pornography use, right? Because I'll tell you this, I've relapsed before in a fasted state, but I would argue, and I would say that I relapse more when I'm fed, when I have already consumed food for the day, right? And typically the more sugar I eat, the more caffeine I drink, the more like stimulants I get from like different foods, the more carbohydrates I eat, that's typically when my lust is highest. So when I'm eating like a lot of meat or a lot of dairy or a lot of like sugary sweets like bread and cookies and cakes and ice cream, that's when my lust, and soda, that's when my lust is highest, right? And it's funny, if you read the book The Conquest of the Serpent, it's a free book on what is it, you can get it on PDF drive on Safari or Archive, right? You just look it up. And in that book he says that meat, and I really didn't know this, meat has aphrodisiacal qualities, right? So aphrodisiacal qualities are things in the meat that stimulate your sexual gonads, right? Your testicles, right? They have the ability to do that, right? They excite your libido. So when and I'm not saying you should be a vegan or go vegetarian, but I think you should be conscious of your meat intake. And I think that when you fast, when you restrict your time, the time that you eat to less, like you restrict your time to only 5 hours a day or 6 hours a day in a 6 hour eating window, think about it, right? So if I don't eat from 2 to 8 p.m., right, from the time I get up, let's say I get up at 7 to 2, I'm not really feeling that much. I'm not feeling the sense that I need to watch porn, or I'm not going to have that many urges, as opposed to if I ate early on in the day, ate a big breakfast, and then was snacking, right? So time restricted eating is going to help you. It's not the only thing, obviously, right? But it's a tool in the toolbox that you need to you need to constantly use it, right? There's times where, I'm not gonna lie, there's times at work where I have a lot to do at work, so I eat sometimes when I'm at work very early in the day. I'll eat at like 9 a.m., right? Sometimes I'll try to push it to 11, but just do your best, right? Just do your best to time restrict your eating. Some of you it might be difficult, but I think we can all have a little bit more discipline when it comes to delaying our food intake to later in the day, and because like I said, it gives you more control, and that's what we really need when we're overcoming lust, especially in the beginning. Guys, I'll give you some advice. If you're really struggling, right, and you're watching porn 2-3 times a day, the thing that's going to help you in the beginning is time restricted eating, and then also not using your phone as much, right? Because when you are constantly, like I said, watching porn, right? Think about it. You're on your phone, you're in bed, right? Or you're eating food, right? But when you take those things away, you're forced to use your rational mind, right? It brings you back to your logical senses, right? And it's difficult to refrain because, typically when we stop doing something, that's when the demons come out. That's when the urge to do the thing really presses up on you, right? But in the book Dopamine Nation by Anna Lembke, which I'm listening to right now, she says that the first 30 days are typically the hardest, right? They're typically the days where you experience the most withdrawals. You experience the dopamine is not fully rewired yet, but she says it takes about 30 days, right, as it pertains to porn, to really rewire your dopamine and make it so you don't have that constant, it's like a constant like surge of urges and withdrawals and temptation. Think about it, right? When you first stop, right, the first 3 days are typically really difficult, right? It's the first week, the first 2 weeks, that's typically when it's the hardest, right? But once you get to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm sure you guys can vouch that it's a lot easier after that, and it's a lot more easy to maintain, right? So a lot of this is really just the first 14 to 21 days, first 30 days. And you know, it's hard, right? Because those are the days where you feel like absolute shit when you're not watching or you're not using your phone, when you're not eating, when you're just sitting there, maybe you're on a walk, maybe you're meditating. That's when you feel depressed, right? Like I don't know what the exact like biological response is, but during like a withdrawal period, I notice like if I'm not using my phone, I notice I have like a tight sensation in my stomach, right? I don't know what it's from. I don't know where it arises from, but I know there's a sense of stress and anxiety and like a feeling of like sadness and depression that arises when I'm not on my phone or I'm not consuming food, right? Because you know, when you're living a pure life, when you're sober, when you're not you don't have constant stimulation, your brain is forced to sit with the boredom, and then questions pop up like, what's the meaning of life? What am I gonna do, right? And then urges to do other things arise, like the desire to go work out or go watch this or go do this or I gotta do this, right? Like there's so many different things that arise when we take away our devices, we take away food, we take away music, things like this. So you know, some of those things will help you, especially in the first 20 days, right? And just understand, you know, it's not the only thing that hurts men's potential. Of course, we have other drugs and things, vices that affect us negatively. But just understand that your porn use, right? No matter if the doctors say it's healthy for you, no matter if it's a healthy release, just understand, right? The dopamine surge that you get from that is equivalent to crack cocaine, right? So every time you relapse, right, just know that it's a huge surge. It's a huge dopamine hit, right? And it's really something to be avoided cold turkey. If you're still on the fence about whether or not to, you know, be fully celibate, or hey, I'll just, you know, watch it once a week, I really urge you to, I mean, obviously once a week is better than every day, but I really urge you to have the desire to be free completely, because that's when you're going to experience the most out of life. That's when you're going to have the most energy, the most drive, the best intimacy with your partner, your girlfriend, your wife. And that's when you're going to have, like I said, the best ability to make more money, the best performance when it comes to your gym, your diet, your health. So everything just starts to align when you wean yourself off from porn. And like I said, the first 30 days are really where we're concerned about here as it pertains to me helping you guys out. So I just really want to dial that home and let you guys know that there's hope. You just need to, like I said, time restricted eating will help you. Getting rid of installing porn blockers will help you. And if you do those two things, I think in the first couple weeks, I think you'll set yourself up to succeed to 60 days to 90 days. And it's not about the days, but you know, as a way to track your progress, I think it's good in the beginning to track your days. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And as always, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.